Hi everyone, it's Kit here from the Kit Does Yoga YouTube channel. You may notice I have a little bit of a different setup today, and that's because we're going to do a yoga class using the wall. I wanted to do this as part of a series where I show you how to use different yoga props, starting with the wall. The wall is a great yoga prop. You can hold on to it, you can lean on it, you can use it for support whether you're upside down or right side up. And through this class, I'm going to show you a bunch of different ways to incorporate the wall into your yoga practice. So let's get started. So to start off this class, we're actually going to sit with our backs against the wall. Try and line up your back all the way up against the wall, pulling your shoulders back, your head back. You can let your legs hang long or maybe take them into a butterfly pose here. Either way, just finding a comfortable seat. So I'm going to let my legs go long and I'm going to place my hands on my legs just comfortably. And then if it feels good, maybe close your eyes or just gaze softly as we begin to root into the practice here. Start by noticing your breath. Noticing how the wall feels on your back, feeling all the connection points from your mid-back to your shoulders to the back of your head. Noticing all those connection points. Knowing that the wall will support you, it will always be there if you need to lean on it or hang on to it for any of these poses. Giving it that same trust we give to our mat and give to the floor during any practice. This is always an option as well. If an easy pose or seated pose it doesn't feel good to you, you can always come to a wall. Go ahead and do it on the wall here. Remember, that's always something that you can do to modify your practice to suit your body. Breathing here, beginning to arrive at the practice, separating yourself from whatever else you had going on during the day. And we always start with these deep breaths just to make our body aware that it's time for yoga, it's time to relax. It's a chance for us to become present in our bodies, present in the moment, instead of thinking about what came before or what's coming next. Just taking a moment to be present. And then continuing this presence throughout the class. Go ahead and take 3 more breaths here. Being really mindful, really present with your body today. And then when you're done with those breaths, we're going to go ahead and move into mountain pose, so standing up tall. So however you get there, go ahead and take some time, take a few moments to make your way into standing pose, into standing up tall, mountain pose. And then again, we're going to use the wall here. So go ahead and bring your heels back against the wall. And then your glutes are probably against the wall, and pull your shoulders against the wall and the back of your head against the wall. Maybe even you get your arms into it here. So pressing your arms and your palms back on the wall. Or actually, let's flip it the other way. Let's take the back of our hands to the wall, palms forward, like we would normally do mountain pose. And feel a nice tall spine here. So a lot of times, in mountain pose, I say find a nice tall spine, but here you can actually get some feedback here. So you'll notice if you're slouching because your shoulders aren't against the wall, but really pull them back. And being mindful here as well, so noticing the curvature of your spine. So not every single point of your back's going to be on the wall. Your back has these nice natural curves. Your low back curves in, and then your mid back curves out. So not every point along your spine has to be on the wall, but just noticing the points that do. And taking notice of the back of your head too, because the back of your head will most likely be on the wall, or maybe your ponytail will be on the wall. Finding that alignment here. And again, alignment's not absolute, but finding where you feel strong, where you feel tall, and where you feel stable for the rest of the practice. And then once you've found that straight spine, go ahead and plug it in. So bring this awareness into your mind. So notice how it feels, so that if we move away from the wall, if we're doing something funky with our legs, we can always come back to this feeling of a tall mountain pose. Take a breath in and out. Go ahead and take 2 more breaths here, just tuning into that feeling. And then when you're done, go ahead and take a step away from the wall. And now we want to line ourselves up about a torso's length away from the wall, which might be a little bit hard to judge. But the easy way to do it is we're going to get into our stretch here. It's going to be a nice shoulder stretch, a nice shoulder opener. So place your hands on the wall. And then you should line up your feet so that you can get a nice stretch here. So my hands are against the wall. I'm pressing back and I'm feeling it all the way, that press, that lengthening all the way back through my hips. So you'll notice if you're falling forward or you're more in a, like, I don't know, some weird plank position of falling into the wall. But I want my feet right underneath my hips here so that I can press against the wall, but I am also being supported by the wall. You might want to also change the height of your hands too, see if you're up high or if you're too low and feeling it in your wrists here. So finding a nice neutral position, flattening your back. Notice too if you're dropping through the chest here, so we don't want to stretch out that much. That's overextending the shoulders, and we don't want to do that. Again, finding that place where you can press into the wall and it goes all the way back into your hips. You might even notice here, to help with this, pull your belly button in as well. So it's a little bit of a core work too. So pulling your belly button in helps you keep that nice flat spine and supports your lower body. Take 2 breaths here. And then go ahead and walk your hands down the wall onto the ground, and then we're actually going to crawl a little bit closer to the wall. We're going to take a ragdoll against the wall. So I'm going to walk my body up against the wall. When I get close enough, my upper back is actually going to come onto the wall. This one is a little funky, a little weird. We'll make it work. So when I get close enough, my upper back comes onto the wall, and then I can let my arms hang flat, or just like ragdoll, maybe I grab my arms and let them hang. I'm probably not swaying here. My shoulders are a little bit busy. And then here you can actually let your weight fall forward, so, or rather my weight's falling into the wall here, so I'm being supported by the wall, my back's falling into it. And then from here I'm actually falling forward into the wall. The wall is... And then from here I'm actually falling forward into the wall. The wall is supporting me. I'm getting a really nice back stretch here. I'm also getting a stretch through my hamstrings and the back of my legs as well. And then gaze is right through your feet as well. So again, I'm looking up at the camera, but your gaze is right through your feet. Getting a nice stretch here. Take another breath here. And then start to walk your way out of it. So walking back away from the wall, I'm going to tiptoe my hands and feet back. And then on your next inhale, slowly roll up. Yeah, go ahead and watch your head. Don't bump your head on the wall. And then from here, we're going to take a pyramid pose to stretch out the legs. So So starting an arm's length away from the wall, I'm going to go ahead and measure that out. So my palms are flat on the wall, and then my feet are back down below my shoulders and my hips. If we get into this pose and you want to move forward or back, you can always do that. But arm's length away is a good starting point. And then from here, I'm going to keep my right foot where they are. And I'm going to step my left foot back about halfway down my remaining mat. So it's almost, for me, it's about thirds. So 1/3 from the wall to my right foot, another third from my right foot to my left foot, and then the last third of the mat is my left foot to the back of the mat. This isn't as far apart as like a warrior two. It's about half that distance as well, if that's another marker that helps you. But again, once we get into the full pose, you'll be able to adjust and see what works for your body. And then my left toes are actually pointing out about 45 degrees, and my left foot is towards the left side of my mat. And then next what I'm going to do is take my hands to my hips and actually square them towards the front of the wall. Or rather, square them towards the wall. So notice if you're trying to open up, again, like a warrior two, we want more like a crescent lunge where both hips are an even distance from the wall. Another way to check this is to actually reach for the wall. So I'm going to bend at my hips. Notice when you start to bend if they want to open up. And then I'm going to reach for the wall. So as I'm reaching here, my hands should be an equal distance. So I'll notice if they're opening up, if like my right palm is on the wall and then my left fingertips are only on the wall, like I can't get my palm there. But if I square my hips up, that makes my shoulders an equal distance away from the wall, which makes my hands evenly on the wall. And then if you want to go deeper here, start to bend even more. Maybe I bring my palms onto the wall. And then just like we did that shoulder stretch, maybe you bring your head in line as well. So you can drop your head in between your shoulders, in between your biceps, and feel this pose here. So this pose is a stretch for the outer right hips, the outer right thigh, and the IT band that goes along your outer right thigh. So this pose feels really good there. If you're not feeling it, notice where your hips are. If they're open, you probably won't feel it as much. But if you pull this right hip back, it'll feel nice and stretchy along your outer right leg. So go ahead, find your pose here. And like I mentioned, if you need to walk backward, you need to bend down a little bit more, you can do that as well. If you can't quite reach the wall, you can always take a step forward and find pyramid pose this way. So go ahead, find pyramid pose. And then take a few more breaths here, just feeling this pose, being present. Using the wall as a little bit of an alignment tool here. Go ahead and stay here for one more breath. And then go ahead, come out of this pyramid pose. And we'll set up for the other side. So setting up for the left side here. So I'm going to measure myself an arm's length away from the wall again. And then this time I'm going to keep my left foot forward. And then my right foot's going to go back again about halfway down my remaining mat. I'm going to take my hands to my hips. My right foot walks out towards the right side of my mat. And I'm just going to take a peek at my right toes to make sure that they're pointing about 45 degrees out. First I'm going to square my hips here. Same distance from the wall. Now this is really important. I know I take a lot of time setting up these pyramid poses. You're like, I know where we're going. We've done this before on the other side. But I do like to take a little bit of time just because you got to check in all those different points. And then go ahead and reach for the wall. Check in here too. See if your hands are even. And then go ahead, sink even lower, bending your hips, finding pyramid pose on this side. I'm actually going to walk myself back a little bit more on this side. But always checking in with my hips, seeing if they're even, and checking in with the left side of my leg here. So feeling it's in the IT band. This is a really good stretch if you're a runner or if you do anything where you use your quads a lot. Breathing here. Another reason I talk about squaring off your hips so much is that the body wants to do it. So as we start to get into pyramid pose, our body says, it's really tight here on this side. I think I can fix that if we just open it up a little bit. The body's really good at doing that. And then you don't feel the stretch, but we really want the stretch here. So we have to kind of recorrect and say, I need to feel that stretch here. I'm going to pull my left hip back. So pulling it back, even with my right hip, and feeling that stretch here. Feel free to play around with this too. This can be a little bit of a funky pose, so you can always play around with it. Take another breath here in and out. And then when you're ready, come out of this side once you feel even. Now for this next flow, we're actually going to have our backs against the wall. I set up 2 mats. I set up one against the wall and one perpendicular to the wall. But if you have 1 mat, you can go ahead and spin it towards the wall for this next sequence. So we're going to go ahead and start by separating our feet even wider than hips width distance. I'm going to take my right toes and I'm going to point them towards the right and find something like a warrior 2 here. So I'm actually going to separate my legs even more. My right toes are forward. My left heel is pointing towards the wall and my left toes are pointing away from the wall. I'm going to reach my arms out just like warrior 2, but I'm actually going to come to a side angle here. So I'm going to slide my shoulders against the wall and bring my right elbow onto my right knee. And then my left forearm's going to go up. Now if it's comfortable, maybe I gaze up towards my left hand, or maybe I gaze down at my right toes, or really anywhere in between that feels comfortable. Notice here, if you're kind of slouching, your hand's coming away from the wall, and try and press your left shoulder, your left hand, the back of your left hand into the wall here. Breathing here. So really noticing your body pressing up against the wall. My right glute is on the wall as well. Take a breath in and let it go. Inhale, rise up, reach up back to that warrior 2. And then this time straighten your right knee. Now I'm keeping my toes where they are. We're moving into triangle pose. So my right toes are forward, my left toes are perpendicular to the wall. And then I'm going to reach as far forward with my left hand as I can go. I'm sorry, I'm disappearing behind this little half wall here. And then when I can't go anymore, I'm going to go ahead and drop my right hand down to my leg, my ankle, maybe the floor. And then again, I'm going to reach my left arm up. So this is really similar to that side angle pose we did, but this time we have our right knee straight. So same thing here, try and press your left shoulder, your left wrist up into the wall behind you. You can also lean back for support as well. So leaning back into the wall. You probably don't want your feet right up against the wall, but if you do, maybe take a step out, so heel toe them out so that you can lean up against the wall. And again, if you're down so low that you can't reach up, go ahead and lift your right hand up, bringing it onto your shin or maybe even your thigh so that you can get your left shoulder and your left arm up against the wall. So we're playing with these poses differently, seeing how they feel different when we use the wall here. Using the wall for both feedback and support. Breathe here. Take a breath in. Stay for the exhale. And then inhale, lift up again, flatten your arms out, and bend your right knee. So now we're going to do half moon pose. So I can't quite fit along this wall, so I'm going to scoot myself back. Feel free to do that as well. But from here, what we're going to do is we're actually going to bring our right hand forward. I'm still sliding my shoulders, my back against the wall. And I'm going to lift my left leg up. So I'm kind of suspended. And then I can bring my right hand all the way down to the ground if that feels good. Or again, stay suspended here against the wall. I can grab it for some support. Or again, coming all the way down. You can also bring your right hand to a block or some books here as well. That might feel good. And then notice my left foot is lifted and my left arm is still reaching up. So we've gone back and forth on the wall. This is our third pose here. This pose can be really advanced if we just do it out in the open, out in the wild, but I really like the wall for this pose because you can lean back up against the wall. Also notice again, if you're rounding, if you can't quite get your upper back on here, and really try and open your hips up this time so that our back can go against the wall. Maybe even get both glutes against the wall, or at least they're trying to. I'm actually kicking my left heel into the wall. That feels really good. Hold here for 2 more breaths. And then on your second exhale, go ahead and come out of this pose again. Whew, shake it out. That was a little bit of balancing on our right foot there. And then we're going to set up for the other side. So go ahead and set yourself up, finding this kind of warrior 2 on the wall. This time my left toes are going to point towards the left. My right heel is close to the wall, and my right toes are coming out perpendicular to the wall. Again, I'm not sure if you can see it. Find this little half wall I have in my makeshift yoga studio. But again, I'm going to find this makeshift warrior 2. I'm bending my left knee. And then bringing my left elbow onto my left quad and finding side angle here. My right arm's going up and my right shoulder and my right arm are pressing into the wall here behind me. Finding a little support there and finding a lot of feedback. Again, gaze can go up at your right hand, down at your left toes, or really anywhere in between, as long as you don't have a camera like me. An option to advance this pose or mix it up is to reach down with your left hand for your ankle. So that's an option as well, but I noticed that my shoulder comes away from the wall. So to keep my shoulder on the wall, I'm going to come back up onto my knee. Breathing here. Take a breath in and out, and then lift back up. Bring your hands to even, straighten your left knee, and we're going to find triangle pose again. So reach as far forward with your left hand. Maybe you can see it a little bit better on this side. And then I can't reach forward anymore. I'm going to drop my left hand down, and my right arm is going to reach up tall. Breathing here, finding this triangle pose. Finding a stretch again on the inner. Finding a stretch on the inner thigh this time. So during pyramid pose, we stretched a lot through the outer thigh and the IT band, but this is the inner thigh and the hips right here, feeling a lot of this stretch. And it's really amplified by opening up our chest, opening up our hips onto the wall here. So if you're not feeling that stretch, see if you can press your right shoulder onto the wall, press your right hand. And if you're still not feeling it, sink your left hand even lower down your leg. That's an option to go deeper as well. Take 2 more breaths here. And then on your next inhale, go ahead and lift up. And we're going to set up for half moon again. So I don't run into my plant, I'm going to back up a little bit, but still keep my left toes pointing towards the left. And then with my upper body out, I'm going to start to tilt down, finding half moon on this side. Actually, I can go a little bit further. There we go. And again, maybe you find the ground, maybe you find a block, maybe you just hang on to the wall here. Breathing here, pressing your back body into the wall behind you, using it for support. If you can't get half moon as well, if you really struggle with it, this is a really nice way to also train you to open up your body. So a lot of times when I see people struggling with this pose, it's because they're trying to hold on to this half moon pose where their hips are half closed, half open. But that means your other side of the body has a lot of weight on this side, so of course you're going to feel off balance. But with the wall behind you, you have full confidence to open up into this half moon pose and really play around with the balance here. Practice opening up. And I'm not going to fall backwards because the wall's there to catch me. Take one more breath here. And then go ahead, come out of this side. And then shake it out again. Nice job. And then from here, we're actually going to spin our mats back. I'm going to use my perpendicular mat and come on to our backs. So you actually want to keep your hips and glutes towards the wall here. I'm actually going to put my toes up on the wall, scoop my glutes up, and then roll down onto my back. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and line my toes up right against the wall, my hands down at my sides. And then on my next inhale, I'm going to lift my hips up into bridge pose. So breathing here on your inhales, lifting your hips, and on your exhale, squeezing your glutes. Now we're going to test what's happening with our knees right now. So if your knees are hitting the wall, they're going over your toes, you want to go ahead and walk yourself back, walking your shoulders back. If your knees aren't hitting the wall, then you're doing good. So we know our toes are right up against the wall. So if our knees are hitting the wall, that means our knees would be coming over our toes, which we don't want. We want our knees right over our ankles to really keep a nice strong base here. Go ahead and take an inhale. And then exhale, roll yourself down. And then from here, windshield wiper your knees back and forth, side to side, like they'd be drawing rainbows on the wall behind you, or rather in front of your knees. And then when you're ready, come back to center. We'll set up for another back bend here, so go ahead, check in, bring your toes against the wall. Now if you had to back up before, maybe you back up again, or maybe you stayed where you were, but go ahead and lift up, finding another bridge pose. Taking 3 breaths here in and out. And then on your third exhale, go ahead and wind down and go ahead and lower your back. And then from here, we want to be about a shin's length away from the wall. The way you'll know this is if you put your feet up on the wall and you can pretty comfortably keep them up there, your knees over your hips. I'm going to scoot a little bit up. And then we're going to move into pigeon pose here using the wall. So I'm going to take my right ankle to my left leg and then hang out here. Now, option to take this deeper is to point your toes on the wall, so coming on to the ball of my foot, the ball of my left foot, flex your right foot, and maybe you press your left knee forward. Or sorry, your right knee goes forward. So any combination of that. Maybe I just press my right knee forward and flex my right foot. Another option to go into a deeper stretch or less of a stretch is to adjust how far your hips are from the wall. So to go deeper, I would move my hips up to the wall. So this would be just like on pigeon on our back when we pull our leg in closer. To release a little bit, I'm going to scoop my hips back so that I'm more than a shin's length away from the wall. So go ahead and find your pigeon pose here. So I'm going to go ahead, scoot up a little bit from where I was. And then settle in here. From here, I like this pose a lot. You can really relax here. You don't have to worry about holding onto your leg. And you can go at any depth here using the wall. So breathing here. And then we'll go ahead and switch it out. So bring your right foot onto the wall. It should be about the same height as your knee. So not having it up or down low so that you're flexing your foot, but about right at your knee. So there's a line from your knee to your ankle that's parallel to the ground. And then I'm going to take my left ankle to my right knee here and just press my left knee forward, flexing my left foot. And then same options here. If you want to go deeper, you want to move back or forth, go ahead and find your pigeon pose on this side. So just getting into our hips a little bit, using the wall to help hold us up, hold our feet up, and changing up this pose a little bit. Another reason I like this pose is because also sometimes when we grab our legs, we can't relax our shoulders fully down on the mat. So this is a way that you can relax your shoulders and your head all the way back onto the mat and still get that deep stretch here through your hips. And then go ahead and release. And then we're actually going to walk a little bit closer to the wall here, so scoot your butt, I guess, a butt scoot closer, not really a walk. And then take your feet back to the wall. And then we're actually just going to take our feet wide for happy baby pose here on the wall. So I'm taking my knees out to the right and to the left. And I'm still going to keep my feet on the wall, keeping my feet at a nice angle. My feet are actually flat on the wall. If you wanted to point them for a little bit more depth here, you could do that. But this feels really nice to just have your feet flat on the wall supporting your feet. And then again, gravity's helping your knees fall out to the side. So we're getting that nice inner thigh stretch here. You can even use your hands as a little bit extra weight if you want to just help out gravity a little bit, taking them to your knees or your inner thighs. But just finding a happy baby pose here on the wall. It's a nice release for the inner hips. Just taking a few breaths here to get comfortable in this pose. Continuing to open up the hips just like pigeon pose. And then when you're ready, we're actually going to roll onto our sides here. So take both knees to one side and roll onto that same side of your body. We're going to scoot our butt all the way up onto the wall. This is one of my favorite ways to get into legs up the wall. So you're going to scoot yourself so your butt's all the way up against the wall. And then we're just going to roll back onto our backs into legs up the wall. And again, if you need to adjust forward or back, you can do that here as well. Adjust your mat like mine. And then find legs up the wall. Actually on the wall this time. I know I do legs up the wall in my classes a lot, but this time it's actually on the wall. So with this pose, you can let all your muscles relax, and let your lower back fall into the yoga mat, let your arms go wide on the side, or maybe you take them up above your head. That's an option as well. Let your feet fall up against the wall, letting the wall hold them. And then let all that blood and oxygen come down back into your core. Taking a few moments here for relaxation, knowing that the wall and our mat are going to support us here. Enjoying this feeling of the inversion of being upside down, but being supported with the wall. And then you can stay here for the final few minutes of this class. Take your Shavasana, and legs up the wall is always an option. It's nice and relaxing, so go ahead and stay here for the final few breaths. Put on a nice song, set a timer for a few minutes, and then just hang out here in legs up the wall pose, soaking in all the goodness from the practice. Just making sure once you come out of it to come out slowly. you all so much for joining me for this yoga class using the wall. I hope you learned some different ways to use the wall as a yoga prop, maybe some ways you haven't thought of before, or maybe you learned a new pose. If there's any other yoga prop that you'd like a video on how to use, please make sure to comment below, and if I have it, I'll show you a way to use it. While you're there, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more yoga classes using even more yoga props. Thanks for watching. Where I show you some different yoga classes emphasizing some different yoga props. Yoga props.